Corruption enchant updates. Yeah, these corruption enchants are actually starting to look pretty damn good. We got some interesting class tuning going live today, so we're going to get straight into that, where all the classes currently rake out in terms of DPS and everything else, the meta. Let's get straight into all this stuff. So here we go. Corruption enchants revisited after latest tuning. So Blizzard dropped some big tuning changes to some of these corruption enchants. If you remember, they were kind of hitting like limp noodles. I would say now they're hitting like really buffed enchants, really. So we're getting a couple changes to Void Ritual, Echoing Void getting a big buff on the back end here, and then Twisted Appendage also getting a little bit of a buff. Overall, what this means is essentially now where there was a complete separation between... Oh, man. Cadence coming in with this. Thank you so much, Cadence. 25 months. What the hell is wrong with you subbing here for 25 months? But thank you so much. Fuck you, skip to raid. We will. We will. But first off, Void Ritual used to be the best of the best, creme de la creme. It was by far and away the one that everyone's going to choose. It's still really the best right now, but it's a little bit more even now when you look at the rest of these after these tuning changes. Right now, we see about a 0.6% difference between Twilight Devastation, which is on the low end here, and then Void Ritual, which is at the very top. So looking at single target here, we see Void Ritual pumping out an additional 2.2% damage. That's pretty damn good. Overall, when we're looking at the rankings here, by the way, Cinderbrew Meadery, you're including some multi-target here, a 1.7% buff to damage here. Overall, the rankings, still Void Ritual is the S-tier choice that we're going to be picking for this. But there are, less separation between these. Some of these might be better for whatever type of situational rotations you're going into, but Echoing Void has really jumped up after that 70% buff we just looked at, and the rest of these are sitting at B tier, which isn't too bad. Overall, these enchants are looking much more exciting than they were when they previously had dropped. We got some nerfs to raid, guys. Nerfs to raid going live today as well for Mythic and Heroic and all difficulties, actually. So Styx Bunk and Junker specifically is on Mythic difficulties. We're seeing a 5% reduction on his health. And Scrapmaster's also getting a 10% reduction here. So Sprocket Monger, we're seeing a damage reduction by 60% to his Polarized Castroblast. This is for all difficulties here. And then One Arm Bandit, we're seeing a bunch of changes. Real Assistant Health reduced by 10%. So those are little ads you got to kill down. Those are down by 10% on all difficulties. Rewards Coin and Bomb Health bonus reduced by 25% on all difficulties. Scatter payout damage reduced by 10% on all difficulties. Traveling damage Flames damage reduced by 19% on Mythic, 7% on Heroic, and then Crush damage reduced by 47%. That's a ton on Mythic, and 20% on Heroic. I believe the Crush damage, isn't that the Tank Buster? So is that thing just not going to hurt anymore? I'm not sure here, but definitely some nerfs here across the board on some of the harder bosses in here. Still, Muggsy, I think, is the hardest boss in the raid after all these nerfs and everything. So we'll see if he ever gets some minor nerfs. He did get a 5% nerf just last week to his health. Okay, looking at the overall meta and everything and how all this is shaken out here, we see the meta, not much of a change here. Vengeance Demon Hunter, still your meta tank. We see Unholy Decay is showing up on all the metas. Balanced Druid, Disciplined Priest is the meta healer right now, and then Arcane Mage. Now, this is your top end, Mythic plus 20. I think one group has freaking completed this shit. If we look a little bit deeper here, we can see the meta. Still, Vengeance Demon Hunter is your tank of choice. Unholy Decay, as I said, showing up everywhere. And then for Druid, actually, we're seeing a little bit of Feral showing up as well, along with the Balanced Druids. Disciplined Priest, solidified itself, I think, is the healer for this meta. For Mage, we see some Frost and Arcane working their way in here, so that's good. I didn't know Frost was getting buffed that much, but I guess it did. And then for Shamans, we're seeing some Shamans showing up as well. Enhancement, Elemental, Restoration across the board. A bunch of different Paladin specs, and then the rest of the specs kind of showing up here at a plus 18. So remember, the meta is what it is at a fucking plus 20. Are any of you running a plus 20 right now? Yeah, I don't think so. So don't worry about the meta so much. If you're looking more at what the typical key is being run, which is really a plus 10 right now, that is the most popular key. We're seeing Havoc and Vengeance Demon Hunter, all the Death Knight classes here, all the Druid classes, Disciplined Priest, of course, still showing up, all the Mage specs, Shaman, Paladin, Marksmanship Hunter showing up pretty big here. We see some Warrior specs. Yes, Demonology, Warlocks, they're doing pretty damn good on DPS, and then the rest of these boys, Mistweaver, all that. So, again, the meta is what it is, but don't worry too much about it. The most popular right now, prior to the Sacred Flame, I think the community feels like is the easiest key, followed by Flood, Rookery, Brewery. The lowest is Theater of Pain, but I just did it yesterday, +8. Wasn't too bad, honestly, but I haven't really worked up to the +10s yet, but evidently the majority of the community has. That's right. They're pumping really hard. +10 is the favorite right now because of the rewards that you get from it and everything else. So that is the one that people are running the hardest. And then you got your runs here for the week. Down a little bit. Yeah, people are, running less, I guess, doing less. It's kind of tapering off as the season wears on here. 11.1.7. Not too far out. But we'll see how all that works out. Again, the good thing is, the percentage of people failing keys is also dropping, so that's pretty good to see. Besides that, let's look at the damage, because the damage is going to change a little bit. Right now, the rankings have been pretty solid in terms of where everyone's standing. But there is some interesting class tuning going on this week that was kind of unannounced for the most part, but we'll get into what those class tunings mean for this chart. Devastation Evoker sitting there at the top. We saw that just last week. Destro Warlock also sitting pretty good. Marksmanship Hunter. Unholy and Frost DKs. DKs are big dicketed. I mean, that's what they're doing right now. Ass Rogue, Windwalker Monk, Affliction Warlock, Shadow Priest, all sitting up here. The rest of us seeing down here, Retribution Paladin, as I said, you see these charts sometimes and you're like, oh no, I can't invite a Ret to raid. Revy, thank you for the follow, man. Welcome to our Scourge. The truth is that we just had a Cadence right there. I mean, he'll pump at 2 million yesterday on Muggsy. So no, this really, these are just kind of top end. What's the best of the best? 95 percentile, just pumping as hard as you can, geared out and everything else. This is the maxed out, but the truth is, you can bring any of these guys, except for maybe an Augmentation Evoker. But I will say, Augmentation's getting a massive buff. We're about to see it real soon here. The middle guys, you got Fire, a Survival Hunter, Outlaw Rogue, Beast Mastery, Balanced Druid, Enhancement Shaman. Not looking too bad here. You got your movers up and down, your ranges here for all these. Looking really at Heroic Raid, here, Heroic overall damage percentiles. Some things get flipped here on Heroic, as I said before, looking at Mythic rating 95th percentile is a bit skewed. For regular, we're seeing, for regular Heroic, we're seeing Affliction Warlock not doing too bad. At the very top here, Devastation Evoker, Ass Rogue, Arms, Marksmanship, Windwalker, Fire Mage. We see actually Unholy and Frost, who were at the top in Mythic, kind of switching it up on Heroic here. But again, this kind of changes it up when you're in Heroic fights, less mechanics, less ways to move, things like that. DPS looks a little bit better. So, Survival Hunter here, Unholy, as I mentioned, Enhancement. And at the bottom, Augmentation Evoker, but we're going to see what happens with them. Frost Mage, Ret Paladin down at the bottom. So let's look at these class tuning changes, because there are quite a few of them, and they seemingly came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting this week, but we are getting some class tuning changes. So first off, Unholy DK. Pact of the Sandland now only stores 25% of shadow damage dealt in Blood Beast, was 50%. So that's a little bit of a nerf there. But Raised Abomination Limb, melee attack increased by 30%, and Arms of the Damned, Magus Frostbolt damage increased by 40%. So some nerfs and buffs there. A little bit of rebalancing for Unholy, but Unholy's doing pretty damn good right now. Demon Hunter, we see Havoc. All damage abilities increased by 4%. That's a nice little buff to you guys. And then we got Eldachi Reaver. I guess it was getting parried quite a bit, so that's not going to happen. Same for Vengeance here. Eldachi Reaver. Reaver's Mark is not getting parried anymore. So that's pretty good for you guys. Druid, we got Feral. Of all ability damage increased by 5%. Pretty big there for Guardian. We know Guardian has been an alright tank lately. And then Feral Druid, all ability and auto attack damage increased by 3%. Some people are claiming Feral is actually going to jump into the meta after this buff, so we'll see. As of right now, Balanced Druid has been kind of more at the top. We did see Feral working its way in just a little bit towards those plus 18 keys, so I think we're going to see him even more now with this 3% buff. Feral, the Kitty Boys, not doing too bad lately. And then we got next Evoker. Okay, here it is. Big Gloria, Augmentation Evoker. You are not forgotten. Blizzard has remembered that you exist and given you a 15% increase to your damage across the board. All abilities, everything. Buffed Dragon Cock on the table. It's ready to go. Augmentation Evoker might once again be viable after this buff. This is a big buff. Okay, I know you're sitting at the bottom of the charts now, but seeing it across the board 15%, that's not common. That means Blizzard really saw that you guys were lacking and wants to bring you back up into the fold. So a nice buff there for Augmentation Evoker. We see Mage here. We got Frost Mage. Splinter damage increased by 10%. Controlled Instinct damage increased by 40%. And Volatile Magic damage increased by 25%. Frost seemed to be the one that was lagging behind a little bit with Fire and Arcane. See, this seems to be some good stuff here for Frost. And then Paladin. Retribution. Blade of Justice damage increased by 80%. Divine Arbiter damage increased by 50%. Final Verdict damage increased by 10%. Some big buffs there. So some Retribution Paladin abilities. Yeah, those are massive fucking buffs. I agree. An 80% buff here to Justice damage. That's big in and of itself. Some nice little buffs there. And as I said before, Retribution, probably one of the more popular specs in the game. They kind of needed this. They're a little bit down in the charts, but I've seen some Retribution Paladins pump. It looks like they're going to pump a little bit harder after these buffs go live today. And then Priest, Holy. All healing done, increased by 4%. We know Discipline Priest is the go-to right now for healing in Mythic Keys and everything else. Good to see Holy getting a little bit of love here. We'll see them more in raids, potentially. 4% buff for them. And then Warrior. We got arms and we got furries, okay? Blade Sword damage increased by 30%. And Slayer Reaper the Storm damage increased by 30%. Nice buffs there for arms. And then Furry Warriors, the furriest of the furries. Blade Storm damage increased by 30%. And Slayer Reap the Storm damage increased by 30%. So some nice buffs there. For Warriors have been kind of mid-tier all expansion when it comes to damage. So a couple buffs here might help them out. Not too bad. Overall, that's everything in terms of your PvE. You got your PvP stuff here. You guys can look at this if you want to PvE with your PP. This stuff, really, I don't usually get into it. But yeah, a bunch of changes here to a bunch of classes when it comes to PvP. If you're a PvPer, I feel bad for you. I feel like this game's kind of let you down a little bit, but all in all, Blizzard's still tweaking you guys a little bit. So there you go. Those are all the changes in the classes. We'll look at the charts when all this stuff happens to show up finally in these charts next week, maybe. But that is all for today in terms of news.